Okay. Well, hello, everyone. Let me share my screen quickly. All right, let me move this away. So it's a meeting. So if you guys have any questions at any time, just interrupt me and ask your question. The goal is for everyone to understand better what this study is about and how to best participate. So this study is, we've called it the Sleep Seizure Behavior Study, and that's done in partnership with Ciitizen, SRF, and another pharma company that right now does not wish to be announced. But the goal of the study is to really understand the SYNGAP population and to inform future clinical trials. So in this study, we're looking at three major components of the SYNGAP population: sleep challenges, seizures, and then behavior challenges. So to participate, you have to take 3 surveys. The first one is the behavior survey, the sleep survey. Those 2, you just take them once. And then you have the seizure tracker. And the seizure tracker needs to be taken 30 days consecutively. And it's just to get a big picture of how it's hard to know in one day how the seizures are for your child. So it's just good to see over time how it evolves over 30 days. And then for that, every parent that participate or caregiver that participate in the study and completes all 3 surveys, including the 30 days seizure tracker, will get a $200 compensation. Any questions on the general information of the study, what it's about, and how to participate?
I have a quick question, Virginie, just out of curiosity, on those of us that can complete it and do have a earn the $200. Is there any way we can have that go directly to SRF, or does it have to come to us first?
It will have to come to you first, I believe.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And then you can donate.
Okay.
Yep. So who is eligible to participate? We sent a mass email to everyone who's on Ciitizen right now that meet the criteria of the study, which means you have to be between 3 and 18 years old. Your child has to be between 3 and 18 years old, has to have seizures, and obviously the SYNGAP1 diagnosis. So if you haven't received the email, I know for some of them it went to spam. You can still participate. We posted the link. You can contact me directly, Virginie@ciitizen.com, and I'll be able to send you the direct links to the surveys. And I'll send out an email to everyone on the list again who have not started their survey, but are eligible in the next few days. So look out for an email if you are eligible. How to participate. So we talked about it before, 3 surveys. So it's very simple. The first 2 only take a few minutes. The seizure tracker is really quick to fill out, but it has to be filled out every day. So right now we're just going to go look at each one of them. So the sleep survey, it's fairly straightforward. The date completed, it's for the date, obviously the day you fill it out, your information, patient's date of birth, and then you have 26 questions about the sleep patterns of your child. The first 2 are different format, which is like how many hours, average hours a night of sleep, and then how long after falling asleep how long does it take to fall asleep? And then all the other questions it's a scale. It's a scale from never, from 1 to 5, never, occasionally, sometimes, often, and always. So all of the questions have the same format. I think the questions are pretty straightforward and easy to understand. Again, it doesn't take a lot of time to fill out. For some of you, I know several of you I've filled those out. Do you have any questions or comments on the sleep survey? Was that pretty easy to fill out? And
the sleep survey was easy to fill out. Oh, sorry, I have a comment on the next survey, the daily seizure tracker. So
okay, we'll go over that one as well. So then the second survey is the behavior survey, and there's no order on how to take those surveys. You can start with a seizure tracker, then do the behavior, then the sleep. You just take whichever you want first. There's no logical order. So the behavior survey, that one is more of a open question. So it's trying to understand what are the major behavioral, emotional, and social challenges that your SYNGAP child and you as a family are facing. And so it's just, it asks you to give 5 examples and then just write and describe as much as you can. So again, fairly straightforward, just 5 examples of the most challenging behaviors, emotional, social challenges. And you can write as much as you want. One thing that I would suggest, and we'll de-identify everything, but as you're typing, try to avoid mentioning your child by name, by first name. We'll go over and remove anything that could identify your child, but it's always good if you're typing to try to be conscious about not typing a name. Any questions on the behavior survey? No? All right, the seizure tracker, that's the big one. It's fast to fill out, but it's the one I think where people have the most questions. So this one needs to be, it's a daily seizure tracker. It needs to be filled out every day for 30 days. If you skip a day, you'll get an email from me to remind you to do it. And so it's the same, just fill out information. What I recommend is date completed. Please use that as the date that you're reporting on. So I skipped mine last night, even though I reminded everyone, I forgot to do mine. So today I will go back in and fill out for yesterday. And so I'm going to enter yesterday's date. So this is, if you can use this date for the day that you're reporting on, that would be really helpful. And we can track, we have a mechanism to track what day you're taking it. So we know that you're taking it the next day. But just use that date to tell us what day you're reporting on. And then information, and then tell us what type of day. Was it a good day, normal, or bad? Then it asks you, okay, if it was a good day, you didn't see any seizure, under identified trigger, just list others. That's a required field, so just put others. If it was a bad day or a normal day and you still saw seizures and you have an idea of what the triggers are, please list them. But you can also use the other field to explain as much as you want about that specific day, why you think that day was good, bad, or normal. So it's always good to enter whatever information you want there. And then was rescue med used or not? This is not a question about, do you have rescue meds? It's a question, did you use it that specific day to stop seizures? And then other information, if you want to add anything, anything that you want to list in there, any other information you feel is relevant to the seizures you saw that day. And then the next important things is trying to count. So over the next 30 days, once you start taking your survey, we really want to try to know if you can count as close as you can for each seizure type. So we've listed the seizure types. They're in order of what we usually see the most in the SYNGAP community. Mike put out that survey on the groups, which helped us kind of organize the seizure types on the form. But it also has a description. So if you're not sure what seizure type your child has, number one is I would go to the neurologist and ask, they should be able to tell you. And then just use those descriptions to see which one fits the most. And then in those boxes, all you have to do is enter a number and try to be as specific as you can. If you're giving a range, which, because I know for some of the seizures, it's hard to track. Just if you're giving a range, try to make it, if you're giving a range 10 to 20, that's a pretty wide range. It's like double, right? So try to say, is it closer to 10 or is it closer to 20? In here too, so if you're saying, let's say, well, today I saw an average of 10 seizures per hour, we're really looking at the count for the day. So is it really every single hour of the day? Is it a wake day? Are you seeing those at night as well? So try to get like the most estimate you can for the entire day in terms of the number of seizures. And I know it's hard because sometimes, when your child is at school, you'll have to ask, did they see any seizures at school? And you'll have to ask them to count as well, so that we have the most accurate count for that specific day. And that's it. So it really doesn't take long once you get used to that survey. And once you know the type of seizure your child has, it's pretty straightforward. Do we have any questions on the process for the seizure tracker before we kind of go over each seizure type?
I have a question. This is Ashley. So I have a number of caregivers, like his therapists and his teachers, who help me track his data and give me lots of feedback about, what their observations of his behavior, his drowsiness, talkativeness, things like that. But sometimes I don't get them for a couple of days after, especially his therapist will usually do them once at the end of the week. Right. So I've noticed, like, during the few days that I've done it during the week, this week, I've only really had my data, and right. I know that it is incomplete. And by the end of the week, I'll have a more accurate reflection. So I remember you said, maybe I think I saw it in a Facebook thread, you can go through and re-enter information for a day. Is that
right? So what we can do is we can coordinate, and that can go back to that specific day, and then we can edit together.
Okay.
With notes. So we'll add a note that this was edited once we got the feedback from the caregivers.
Okay.
If for the next 30 days, and I know that's kind of hard, but if they could just report on that date, just for the seizures, they don't have to report on everything else, but at least on the count of the seizure, that would definitely be more helpful. That way, when at the end of each day, you'll be able to fill that out. And if it's not possible, then you and I can coordinate how to keep updating your surveys to keep the most accurate. And I would enter it. So maybe you log yours when what you saw, and then we'll just do another one with what the caregivers for the same day, and then we'll combine.
Okay. Would an appropriate alternative be maybe just lag a couple of days behind until I get their feedback, and then like today I could enter Monday's information with, once I know that everybody has told me? Would that be an appropriate accounting of a 30-day period?
Yes, it's appropriate, as long as we know that you're really everyone is keeping track, and you're not taking it 5 days later trying to remember what was 5 days ago. So as long as everything is you're keeping track of everything, then we're good. What we don't want is approximate information based on memory from days ago.
Completely understandable. Thank you so much.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, that actually kind of plays into my question. Hi, this is Alexis. I don't watch her all day long. So if I know the types of activities she's engaged in, and I know maybe how many seizures per hour she would normally have, should I estimate at the end of the day, this is how many I suspect she's had, or put the number that I actually saw?
You could put the two, I would put the two numbers.
Okay.
And just in there, just said, okay, this is how many I saw, but based on what I know of my child and the just say, this is what I estimate she really had.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. any other questions for those who've taken it? And you can start, one thing that I forgot to mention. So this study closes on May 30th. So May 1st is your last day to start the seizure tracker. And we really want 30 consecutive days. So you have until May 1st to start if you haven't started it yet. But after that, you won't be eligible for the study because we really need that much data for the seizures. And you'll get reminders.
Hey,
yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Sorry. You know, because it's all in the family here, I realized I didn't really kick it off. And hearing you chat, I just want to contextualize a little bit for people. I think most people on the call understand this, but we're in a really good, I think, situation in terms of, like, it all feels like, oh, it's Virginie, but we're very lucky that, like, Virginie is a SYNGAP expert, right? She's a mom, and then she's been involved in advocacy for years, and obviously is the director of SRF. And then we're so lucky that she joined Ciitizen, I don't know how many months ago, feels like forever. And so while we're just sitting here entering in data and like we're chatting with Virginie, it's important to know what's going on the back end. Virginie and the company are having pretty regular meetings going over this data and doing quality control. But this isn't like, we're not jumping through a hoop here, right? They're not collecting the data to check a box. They're collecting the data to really study SYNGAP and to understand how to design a trial for a potential product. So, like, this isn't like a bunch of rules that these aren't rules for the sake of it. This is guidance that we're getting in order to really ascertain what is it that we would measure in a subsequent trial. It's a highly collaborative learning process where on the other side of these questionnaires, Virginie's having almost daily meetings with the company to look at these data and to discuss it. And Virginie will correct me on that. So, but we should take full advantage of the good fortune of having Virginie there. And if you guys have questions or comments or thoughts or whatever, like Virginie@Ciitizen.com, just go for it. Because the point of this exercise is really to help a company design a trial. And then Virginie, after that little soliloquy, can you also explain where the data is going to reside and how this data will be useful to ourselves and others over time?
Right. So one of the reasons why we opened that study only for Ciitizen participant is because not only the company is going to look at what you're reporting, but they're also going to look at your Ciitizen data, what's in your medical records. And so that way they will get the full picture on all those items that they're looking at, the sleep behaviors and seizures. They'll be able to look at the medication. They'll be able to look at all the doctor's notes, et cetera. And those surveys, the answers of those surveys are going into the Ciitizen data bank, meaning it's available for that pharma company that is behind that study, but it's also going to be available for any other researcher that needs that information. So this is exciting. We're getting more and more, I guess, richer data on SYNGAP patients. And like Mike said, this is to help inform and build a clinical trial for a specific drug for SYNGAP. And I would say there's also another fold to that. Collecting that data, getting all that information is very important. But I think for us as a community, and that's me as a SYNGAP mom or SYNGAP director talking, it's very important to show that the SYNGAP community can be engaged and activated, meaning that if we have pharma company or if we have a trial coming in, that we are able to access families, and families will respond to those questions. So it's making us even more appealing. Right now, we have 26 people who've already signed up for this study. Not everyone has done all the surveys. Not everyone has started all the seizure tracker. The goal was to reach a minimum of 30, but they're open to do more. So the more SYNGAP families that are on Ciitizen can join and participate in that study, the richer the data bank is going to be. And then we're going to get really good reputation in the pharma world. So that's my little plug there.
Virginie,
Mhm.
I haven't been on social media the last few days, but did we like advertise this on social media, or did eligible participants just get an email?
So eligible participants got an email, and then participants in Ciitizen should be on the SRF Ciitizen Facebook page, and that's where we posted a lot of information.
Okay.
And I'm gonna do another push because I think some of those emails went to spam. So I'm gonna do a one-on-one reach, probably starting early next week, maybe over the weekend, to each eligible participant that have not signed up yet.
Okay, so would you want those of us who are on the call to like put it out on our social media, like our personal pages, or is that not appropriate since there's only the eligibility consideration?
Yeah, I think since there is eligible, I don't know, I'll let Mike answer that. I don't think it hurts to know that you participated. I think it's always good to put it out there, and it might motivate more people to join Ciitizen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, a couple thoughts, right? So Sydney, we have sort of gone slow on this because the last day to start is Virginie's saying, you know, May 1st, I'm saying sometime in April. But basically, if the survey closes on May 30th, we have 30 consecutive days, sometime in April, people should begin, right? So we still have 2 weeks to enroll people. And the eligible population, we have, you know, 100 plus people sign up for Ciitizen, 90 plus of them are pathogenic or likely pathogenic, 80 plus of them are eligible for this study. Right. So we basically invited, and I'm not trying to hide the numbers. I don't have the numbers in front of me. So
we sent an email to 85 people.
Yeah. Okay. So I think what we're going to do is we've sent the email and we've had a great initial response. But the direct answer to your question is two. One, we don't think we're done yet. And we'd love everyone's help recruiting, right? So we still plan on doing some reach out. And I think having everyone who's involved is comfortable posting, hey, I just did the SSB study. It was interesting. I'm excited about it, whatever, sign up here, you know, or call Virginie and just tag her. Absolutely go for that. Because the worst that could happen is somebody who's not eligible, who hasn't signed up for Ciitizen yet, or who doesn't have seizures or doesn't have a pathogenic diagnosis, takes a couple of surveys, and Virginie has to drop them a note and be like, hey, FYI, you're not eligible. But that's right? It's not a big deal.
Right. We're checking the data. I'm checking the data every single day. So I will flag if someone is not on Ciitizen or is not eligible. We'll be able to flag so that we don't let someone take 30 days of surveys and then at the end say, oh, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. I just wanted to make sure that like it was cool to like promote it in some way personally without it becoming like an issue in some way for you. So we're good.
Yep.
Quick question, Virginie. This is Olga. Sorry. Who was the actual sender? Because I did see it the other day and now I can't find it.
It's SYNGAP Research.
Just SYNGAP Research. Okay.
Yes.
And
not SYNGAP, Ciitizen Research. I'm sorry. Ciitizen Research.
And other quick question on these seizure types, this particular portion of the survey, is there any way, can we do I haven't tried or looked, can we do a print off of just that? So I could like hand it to his teacher and say,
yes, yeah, you can definitely
print that. Okay. It's not proprietary or anything. Okay.
No. You can print it and just like Ashley was talking earlier, is you can definitely combine the data at the end of the day and to have the most accurate information.
I'm not finding it. That's bizarre. Okay. It's the actual email says Ciitizen Research. I mean, as the sender.
As the sender, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think some of them went to spam. So that's why you'll get a new email from me in the next couple of days directly. But the survey links are posted on the SRF Ciitizen Facebook group too.
Okay, I found it. It did come up. Okay, great. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is Ashley again. I have another question. I was surprised that I didn't see on the seizure tracker survey any information requesting like whether or not your child is on medications of any sort. So I'm wondering, like, is there a reason why you don't want that information, or should we include that maybe in the others field?
So the reason you
that's
don't
magic.
need to enter that information is because it is on Ciitizen. So
Okay.
they will access all of that on
Okay,
Ciitizen.
so I probably also then need to like send some new information if we have some medication changes then, right?
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
that would be helpful.
Got it.
And really,
But all
if
you need to
wanna
do there,
make sure-
Ashley, is
Go ahead.
re-pull the records, right?
Right.
I'm sorry. All you need to do, Ashley, is have them update the record. So you go into Ciitizen, you go to your provider, the hospital, the doctor, and you say update, and then Ciitizen will gather that, and Ciitizen will anonymize it, and then Virginie keeps saying, you know, the company will get your Ciitizen records, and I just keep wanting to add anonymized, right? So they never see a patient's name. They
No,
see some
they don't.
gobbledygook, you know, identifier, and then they see your answers, and then they see, you know, your history in a standard normalized way. So that, and if you think about it, not only is that nice because we know they have accurate data from your medical records, but imagine all the questions you would be being hit with if they weren't getting that. Then we would be like, tell us all the drugs, tell us the seizure history, tell us blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
You don't have to do any of that stuff. And that's why this is so simple.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking specifically with
Go ahead.
with Nathan's situation, like where we are tapering off of one drug and tapering up on another, I might put in my other category,
Yes.
you know, how much what the actual dosages were for things that are changing. That's what I will do.
Yeah, I think that's helpful to add. And it's really, like Mike said, everything will be whatever we can pull from your medical records, we will.
Right.
But if there are things like that, like the doctor might not know exactly that specific day what dose you had of that, and then that matches with those seizures, right? So that would be helpful to track in there and add the notes. And really, those under others, there's no limitation to what you can put out there. So any information you feel is important and relevant to explain the day, put it in there. If they don't need to use it, then they don't use it, right? But I'm always more in this case, it's fine.
And I just want to interject one other thing. And I apologize if I cut someone off. I'm not seeing the screen. All the links to all the surveys are also in the newsletter that I sent out this morning.
Yeah.
So, and at the end of this call, we will add short links to the surveys, and we'll send those out, and we'll stick them on the recording YouTube as well. So, yeah. They're easy to find, and today's newsletter might be the simplest place to find them.
Yeah.
I'll shut up now.
Virginie, Ashley's question made me realize I have a question. So in Emmett Ciitizen, whenever I make a change to his seizure tracker that I keep of him personally, like I keep track of all of his med changes because there's so many of them. I every month or so go and upload a new document of that in Ciitizen so that when I share his file, you know, the most recent one is there. Will Ciitizen actually pull that information from my own personal file that isn't obviously a real medical record?
I will double check. I don't think so. Okay.
But it's cool that it's in there, hey? Or should I not be putting stuff in there that's not like a real medical record?
I mean, I've done it too. I'm guilty of doing this just because it's in one place. And then when I hit share, then like you said, everything is shared. So it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. You can keep, if it helps you in a way, like when you share with a new provider, then just keep doing it. It's not going to hurt. Our team will know quickly if it's from a medical record or if it's entered by a parent.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Yep. All right. Any other questions? All right. Should we go through the different seizure types? I don't know if the ones, those of you who've taken the survey, if those were clear or if you felt like we needed more information on those.
I think for the recording, it'd be good if you just walked through them.
Walk through them. Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, so the different seizure type that we are collecting information on are the first, and like I said earlier, they've been organized based on the results of the little survey that Mike did within the community in terms of what are the most common SYNGAP seizures. We didn't want you to have to scroll all the way down to find the one that we all, most of us experience. So the first one is generalized absence or atypical absence seizures. Those are your, what we call eye roll seizures. They're really quick. It seems like in the SYNGAP community, it's mainly when our kids eat. So that was the most common. Those are just our, what we call eye roll seizures. Tonic seizures, those are your full drops. Generalized absence, those are just the typical absence seizure, which is kind of this, what we call the staring spell. And let me know if I'm going too fast. Eyelid myoclonia evolving to myoclonic atonic. This is really fun to say with when you're French. Anyway, so these are what we call those eye roll seizures that then evolves in head drops. So it's like eye rolls, head drop. Myoclonic seizures, those are brief muscle jerks or twitching. Tonic seizures, it's sudden stiffness or tension in the muscles. So they get really, really tensed and tight. Generalized tonic-clonic seizures, those are what we usually call the grand mal seizures. So it's full on drop to the floor, lose consciousness, and then jerking. Focal impaired awareness seizures with or without motor features. So those last 1 to 2 minutes with loss of awareness of surrounding. May experience lip smacking, picking at clothes, or fumbling. Then we have focal aware seizures with motor signs. They last less than 2 minutes and may or may not lose consciousness. And generalized clonic seizures, jerking movement followed by stiffening of muscles. Focal to bilateral tonic-clonic seizures last 1 to 3 minutes, start suddenly with confusion and movement can be strong or forceful. May start with a smell, nausea, or change in sensation. May fall to the floor, lose consciousness, and followed by jerking movements. Focal aware seizures, excuse me, with motor signs may have loss of muscle tone, jerking, spasm on one side of the body. And then a cluster of epileptic spasms that occur in cluster every 5 to 10 seconds over a 5 to 10 minute period. So these are all the seizures that we are recording. If you see something different that you're not sure what category to fit it in, please send that list to your neurologist and describe the seizure that you're seeing and see if they can tell you which one it is. All right, any questions on the types of seizures that we are recording?
Yeah, this is Cindy. I have a question on that. I guess in our case, it could fall under myoclonic, but a more descriptive term is photosensitive because under that umbrella is pattern induced.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want it to be that specific or do you just want me to put it under myoclonic?
I would put it under myoclonic, but then under triggers, I would do that it's induced, pattern induced.
Yeah, sometimes there's not the myoclonic element though. So, but I guess I'll just make a note of that.
Yeah, or make a note in the type of seizure, just make a note and then the count.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then we'll adjust.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. I know it's hard, like when my son has like his really bad seizures, I still don't know. I went over that list, obviously countless of times, and I'm still not quite sure where to fit it in. So I have a note to the neurologist because I'm like, it's very, I don't know.
Yeah.
it's very bizarre. So it's like, okay, I need someone to tell me exactly. But I think for some of the neurologists, in some cases, it could probably be hard if they don't see it. So I'll try to make a video, but when those happen, I just usually don't think about taking my phone.
Yeah, or you don't have time.
Right, like there's a crisis going on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, it's trying to be as detailed as you can. That's really what we're trying to get here. And what we'll do, because we are looking and working closely on those answers, not like what Mike said. So before I even share anything with the company we work with, everything is de-identified, and I match the answers with your Ciitizen unique identifier. That way everything is completely de-identified. And that's why even in the others on the seizure tracker or on your comments on the behavior, try to avoid typing the name of your child. If it's in there, I will go ahead and black that out, or remove it to de-identify it. But yeah, so we're going through those answers almost daily. And so it might be that the company will look at one patient in particular and will ask for a follow-up. And so in that case, I will reach out to the caregiver and ask for something specific. So let's say if there's something like a big change from one day to the next, like one day there's 0 and the next there's like 200 seizures, and there's no information on what changed, I'm sure I'll be asked to follow up for more information. So we're really trying to gather the best data we can here. All right. Any more questions on seizure tracker? I'll go back to my slides. And I think we've covered all of that in terms of the tips. So it's to take every day, 30-day consecutively. And if you stop, or if there's a time that you can't do it, but you still take notes and you'll be able to go back to it, please let me know. Just flag it to me that you did capture the right information. It's just you didn't put it on there. That way I know when the dates are not matching that it's still accurate information. It's not from memory. We talked about the seizure types and contacting your neurologist if you're not sure. Be as precise as you can in terms of the count. Enter as much information as you can under the other. And then, like we say, if you skip a day, you can take it later on, as long as you reference that day back, and you'll get reminders from me. So I'm going to be very annoying for the next 30 days to anyone who starts the seizure tracker. Not only are you going to get a reminder to take it, but if you skip, I'm going to send you an email, and then I might come back with questions. So please be patient with me. It's just so that we can get the best data, and then we are setting SYNGAP successfully for a clinical trial with that company. All right. Anything else? Now's the time to ask more questions. I will stop sharing my screen. So
this is Mike. Just in case there's no more questions, I just want to say thank you, Virginie. I know this is now your day job, which is awesome, but I also know you're working hard on this because it's personal. So yep. We're glad we have you. And I just want to remind everybody too that we're not quite at the point where we can talk too much about the company, but this company chose to work with us on the recommendation of a scientist in another country. And like, all these, it's a very small world, right? So the feedback about how this goes will be discussed. So really what we're doing right now is forming a discussion between industry and research on how to think about and how to study our kids. Yep. So it's really cool. And just thank everybody for doing it and for promoting it to your peers, because we're all working hard on these therapies, but one of the killer questions when I talk to any company is, what are we going to study, yep. Right? Because we are so heterogeneous, and is it seizures or is it behaviors? So even though this even though this might feel like a pretty simple set of surveys, again, because it's informed and paired with the citizen data, it's still tackling one of the most important questions we have as a community. So I'm just grateful that Virginie's working on it, and this company's supporting the work, and that we have this platform, and I'm sure it's going to get us farther down the field. So thanks, Virginie and everybody else.
Yep. No, it's an exciting, it's definitely an exciting study. And I hope we get more participants, and I hope we get way over the 30 minimum, so we can show that if researchers need something from the community, we're able to deliver. All right, well, I think that will be it, unless if anybody else has any questions, just let me know. You can always reach out to me, Virginie at ciitizen.com. If you have any specific question on a specific day or anything, I'm very, I work really closely with a company, and I will forward you, not forward because they can't get your information, but I will pass along the questions and be able to give you answers on how to approach each situation. So yeah, thank you all for participating. If you haven't joined yet, please do watch out for an email from me, and we can get this done. May 30th, we'll be able to completely wrap up that study and get exciting data. So thank you all.
Virginie. That's great.
Yep, thank you. Bye.